Like the fingers and everything like that. You know, you've got the MCPs, you've got the two IP joints. Like we discussed in class, a gross way of doing that is just to have them try and make a fist like this. And if that's going on, that's full range of motion at all joints, and you don't have to worry about it. But let's say that all she could do is go like that. Then we would employ this method here where we just go ahead, find the tip of the third finger, drop it down like this, and measure how many centimeters or millimeters it is up off of the palm. Then as she increases in her range of motion, that number changes. That's perfectly valid. If it's all fingers, we can use this as a reference. If it's, say it's just this finger right here, well then we would go over to that finger and do all of our measurements on it. So if it looked like that. Does that make sense? So that's a good, valid way of quantifying what's a limitation in there without having to do all the gony stuff. However, if we needed to, and we had to measure, let's say, abduction, which is spreading our fingers out like this, it takes place at this joint, which is what joint?
No.
Metacarpal phalangeal.
Metacarpal phalangeal joint, okay? So if we had to, I mean, you can figure out really quickly, all I need to do is put the axis of rotation over that joint, put all your fingers back together like this, put that over the MCP joint, line up my stationary arm through the midline of the ray, or the metacarpal, with the finger that I'm measuring, okay? Measure a start position here, or I could put her at 0 if I wanted to, like that, and then move her out from 0 this way and measure, or this way and measure. That allows me to measure abduction and adduction of the finger, right? IP joints, we can just go ahead and put this on top like this, line it up with the ray, line it up with the phalangeal segment, and then push her into as much flexion as we can get. Notice that the axis of rotation is going to be off of the joint, and it's going to migrate. That's what it does. And then we can measure that, and that would be MCP joint flexion, right? Come back to a neutral or start position, go into extension, and do the same thing. The problem with this gony is that coming into extension is really uncomfortable. So there are special goniometers for measuring fingers. They're little silver ones, you may have seen them, with a half scale, and they've got like a little ledge, or a little shelf on these right here. And you just put them on there and you can measure, doing that if you want to. Okay? Same thing out here with the IP joints. If you needed to measure those, that's how you would do it. So you're not stuck because you know the principles, and you could have figured that out all by yourself. I probably already did. So that's how we would do that. Okay? So in terms of range of motion, that's as good as it gets. Okay?
Is it windy with the big gony?